Your firm advised Itochu on the KKR-Samson deal, which is one of our M&A deals of the year. So what can you tell me about the deal infrastructure?
What's interesting about the transaction is that it demonstrates the global nature of these transactions increasingly. It demonstrates the desirability of the transaction because in terms of energy infrastructure, there was a big appetite for a deal of this size. $7.2 billion is a large transaction, and it shows that there was sufficient demand out there to fund it both on the equity side and to fund it on the debt side. You had 3 or 4 tranches of capitalization for the transaction, starting with equity, starting with the high yield, starting with the bank credit, and then starting with what I would call the private equity component, which KKR provided itself. So the structure of the transaction brought together all 4 of those pieces, and in addition was done in a very tight timetable of approximately 90 days.
What did this deal teach you about the Asian investment infrastructure?
The appetite is strong in part because of the demand for energy, but in part you have a very interesting confluence of foreign exchange adjustments happening with the Japanese yen right now versus the US dollar. You have a high availability of credit for Japanese companies due to export credit agencies. And so you have a situation where, in particular looking at Japan, you have to acknowledge that the exchange rate has changed dramatically over the past 12 months, providing more dollar resources for these companies at effectively a lower rate for them, combined with their own government's desire to push exports, combined as well with their sovereign demand for energy. So those 3 elements coming together, at least in the Japanese context, make it very compelling. In addition to the Japanese, as your audience is probably aware, the Chinese are very active as well. CIC announced recently the acquisition of an interest in an energy asset manager in Washington, D.C. CIC has also been active in terms of buying some energy assets out of South Africa. In addition to the Chinese, the Koreans, the Singaporeans, et cetera, are also active in the area. So this is a widespread level of activity that is not likely to go away soon.